First of all, Sweden is one of the world's most developed and advanced countries. It is considered to have the cleanest air and water, thousands of square kilometers of untouched nature where you can make use of your freedom to roam. It has a well-functioning welfare system with free education and a jaw-dropping 480 days of paid parental leave. And Sweden has a diverse economy that offers a big variety of well-paying jobs. To sum it up, Sweden is a great country with a high quality of life and high degree of happiness. Nevertheless, as in any country, there are some downsides that come with living in Sweden, and in this video I would like to address and take a closer look at these drawbacks. The big elephant in the room is Sweden's climate. Sweden's proximity in the North Atlantic results in a climate that is mild in the winter months, but the northernmost part of the country has a subarctic climate with long, cold and snowy winters. There are a few weeks during summer when the sun is out consistently and you can wear shorts and t-shirts, but most of the year it is chilly and cold and snowy during winter months. The climate in Sweden's south is kind of similar to the Seattle area, but just with more snowfall. It doesn't get as bitterly cold or snowy in the south as it does in the north, but you are never guaranteed sunshine. In Stockholm there is not as much rainfall as in Oslo or London, and there are more hours of sunshine than in Oslo or London, but still, if summer is your favorite season of the year, then moving to Sweden might not be the best idea. However, if you prefer winter and its lower temperatures and snow, then Sweden has more than enough for you to offer. Another point to consider is darkness. On December 21st, the shortest day in the northern hemisphere, the sun in Stockholm rises at 8:43 am and sets at 2:48 pm, resulting in about 6 hours of sunshine. But combined with all the clouds there are in winter, darkness during this time of the year can be depressing. You get up and go to work long before the sun rises and return home after the sun has already fallen below the horizon, leaving you with a lot of darkness in your free time. On the flip side, on June 21st, the sun is up for an eye-popping 18 hours and 37 minutes, which gives you enough light to compensate for the winter. I think these differences throughout the year make the seasons more interesting, but you just need to get used to the schedule. And once you feel depressed due to the darkness in winter, you just have to focus on how much sunlight there will be in summer and everything will be okay. The high cost of living is another disadvantage of moving to Sweden. Living costs are not astronomical, about 7% higher than in Berlin, 33% higher than in Madrid, and about 20% less than in Oslo. Everyone has different living expenses, but the average estimated monthly expenses of a single person in Stockholm are around 10,000 Swedish crowns or about $940 without rent. But rents are high. Luckily, high wages compensate for all the expenses. Depending on the source, the average and the median wage in Sweden is somewhere between 30,000 and 40,000 Swedish crowns, which is equivalent to about $3,300. This allows you to have a comfortable life with all expenses covered. In any case, it makes sense to accumulate some savings before deciding to move to Sweden. Let's stay in finances and let's take a look at the Swedish currency. Since the year of 2010, the Swedish crown has lost over 38% of its value against the Swiss franc and more than 33% of its value against the US dollar. Against the euro, it didn't lose much value since 2010, but volatility is high. The Swedish crown still is a relatively stable currency compared to other currencies around the world, but this depreciation shows that the Swedish crown fails to compete against the Swiss franc and the US dollar. For people saving money in Swedish crown, this means that their savings lose value over time relative to the previously mentioned other currencies. Among the most famous drawbacks of Sweden are the high tax rates. Just like in Switzerland, in Sweden you are taxed on 3 levels of government: the municipality, the county and the central government. But the resulting effective taxation rate in Sweden is commonly cited as among the highest in the world. Well, the massive social welfare system in Sweden has to be financed somehow. The total tax revenues make up more than 40% of the entire GDP of Sweden, which shows that big government is after your paycheck. Once you make more than about $50,000 annually, you will have to pay more than 50% in taxes. This plays against all incentives of building a great career and making a lot of money. High taxation is a problem in pretty much all of the Nordic countries, and in Denmark taxation is even worse. Taxation on vodka, for instance, is 40%, and just take a look at this diagram here, which shows the taxation on tobacco. Don't get me wrong, I think it makes sense to impose such high taxes on products that play against your health and result in much higher healthcare costs, but it just shows that Sweden is not afraid of implementing high tax rates. The general value-added tax rate is at 25% and there is a reduced tax rate of 12% for foods and some services. Foreigners report that in Sweden, people are more closed to themselves and not that outgoing. Of course, this is a generalization, but still this tendency is present throughout Nordic countries. People here are not rude, but they are not outgoing around people they don't know. But don't be afraid of making new friends. If you are open, friendly and share a smile, you probably won't even notice that people are a bit more reserved. A unique and interesting drawback of Sweden is the law of JANTE. This is an unofficial code of conduct that is known as Jantelagen by the Swedes. It portrays that doing things out of the ordinary or being overly ambitious on a personal level is inappropriate and unworthy. The goal is to create a society which conforms with one another so that there are predictable outcomes for everyone. There are 10 rules in total that many people follow even though it is not part of any official code. The 10 rules state you are not to think you are anything special, think you are as good as we are, think you are smarter than we are, imagine yourself better than we are, think you know more than we do, think you are more important than we are, think you are good at anything, laugh at us, think anyone cares about you, and think you can teach us anything. These rules were created in fiction by the Danish-Norwegian author Aksel Sandemose and have been assumed by some to explain the egalitarian nature of Nordic countries. Others see the law of Jante as a suppression of individuality and personal development. In Sweden there is a language barrier. Sure, English is widely spoken, but Swedish is still the first language here and it is expected for you to learn it. And it also shows that you are willing to integrate into Swedish society. It requires time and effort, but at the end of the day it is worth the investment since it allows you to better connect with locals. Another downside is access to healthcare in Sweden. Even though healthcare is free and of high quality, it may take several months to get an appointment. It can happen that you have to wait quite some time until you get treatment. Finding work as a foreigner in Sweden is not easy. Sweden is home to many industries and there are plenty of jobs that don't require you to speak Swedish, such as IT. But even if you are looking for a job in the IT industry, it can still take time and it can be challenging. Someone on the internet wrote that from her husband's personal experience, it took him 8 months to find a job in Stockholm. He has over 5 years of experience in the IT industry and he couldn't get any interviews. But suddenly, after he updated his name in the resume from Juan Miguel to Miguel, he started to get responses. This case is of course not representative for the entire country, but finding work as a foreigner is not all that easy. But on the other hand, it is important to make yourself more attractive, that is by getting a better education, acquiring more knowledge or completing additional courses and certificates. Highly educated people are in demand everywhere, so don't be afraid to invest in yourself. In Sweden, alcohol accessibility is limited. Sweden has a government alcohol monopoly for sale of all alcohol drinks stronger than 3.5% by volume. The minimum purchase age is at 20 years and 18 at licensed restaurants and bars. All alcoholic drinks that you see in grocery stores in Sweden are less than 3.5%. Alcohol may be served only within a specific time window. These policies don't seem odd if we consider that alcohol is a dangerous and underestimated drug that kills an estimated 3 million people every year. And especially for countries in the north, where average alcohol consumption is higher, these policies make sense. But you just need to be aware of them. As always, the last downside is a bit of a fun fact. Doing one's laundry in Sweden can be challenging. Most apartments in Stockholm don't have a washing machine or dryer, so you need to book an appointment in your building's laundry room. Before signing a contract, check if there is a washing machine and dryer in your apartment. If none, check if the laundry room is in the same building. It may be that the laundry room is in a completely different building. Did I forget a downside? If so, then let me know down in the comments.